The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Open Arts Forum Literary Reading and Analysis Series. Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken is one of the most quoted poems in American literature. It is also one of the most misquoted. People often treat it as a poem about courage, about independence, about choosing the harder path and being rewarded for it. But the poem is quieter, stranger, and more human than that. It is not really about a heroic decision. It is about what the mind does after a decision has already been made. Here is Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. The first thing to notice is how little certainty there is in this poem. The speaker stands at a fork in the woods and tries to study one path as far as he can, but he cannot see very far. The road bends, the undergrowth blocks his view. That is the condition of decision-making in the poem. You look, you think, you try to see ahead, and then the world stops giving you information. The speaker wants to make a meaningful choice, but the poem keeps undermining the idea that the two roads are meaningfully different. The second road has, perhaps, the better claim. It is grassy and wanted wear. But almost immediately the speaker corrects himself. The passing there had warned them really about the same. Then he says it again, even more plainly. Both roads that morning equally lay. That matters. The famous final claim, I took the one less travelled by, does not match what the speaker has already told us. At the time of choosing, the roads were not obviously different. One was not clearly brave, lonely, unconventional, or superior. They were about the same. So what is the poem really showing us? It is showing the birth of a story. The speaker knows that in the future he will explain his life as though it turned on a decisive, meaningful choice. He imagines himself ages and ages hence, telling the story with a sigh. That sigh is one of the great ambiguities in the poem. Is it satisfaction, regret, nostalgia, self-dramatization, some mixture of all of them? Frost does not settle the question, because human beings rarely settle it in their own lives. We make choices under pressure with partial knowledge. Later, we turn those choices into explanations. We say, this made all the difference. And maybe it did. But the poem asks whether we can ever really know. One of the sharpest lines in the poem is not the famous ending. It comes earlier. Yet, knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. That is the poem's adult knowledge. A choice does not simply close one door and open another. A choice leads to a chain of circumstances. One road leads to another road, then another, then another. Eventually, return becomes imaginary. The speaker says he saved the first road for another day, but he already knows that other day will probably never come. That is why the poem has endured. It understands the quiet grief inside ordinary decisions. Most lives are not shaped by one grand moral crossroads. They are shaped by choices made in uncertainty, followed by years of consequences, followed by stories we tell ourselves so the pattern feels less accidental. The Road Not Taken is not a simple celebration of individualism. It is a poem about memory, self-justification, and the ache of alternatives. The speaker does not know what would have happened on the other road. Neither do we. That ignorance is the poem's true subject. We live one life. We imagine the others. And somewhere, ages and ages hence, we try to make the life we lived sound chosen. Discussions like this are part of Open Arts Forum's Readings and Analysis series. Click subscribe to get more. Also, consider visiting openartsforum.com, where literature stays in conversation. There, you can also submit your own writing for discussion and front page consideration.